Hello, this is Taha.
This is Anaina,
This is Movie Masala.
and we're here to yap at you about films we watched recently.
And today we're doing
The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Aware that running that story was a mistake and are taking immediate steps.
I cannot actually get over this. It's really remarkable. A senior editor at Runway. You.
Yep. We're all so thrilled.
You know what's funny is you've changed. You have. You're much more confident. Kept those eyebrows, though, didn't you?
Okay, Anaina, start us off. This was one of your most anticipated films of the year.
Yes, and
Go
I am
ahead.
so glad. I am so glad that I did put it on that list, because the other two that I had on my list, Wuthering Heights and The Drama, were, well, Wuthering Heights, we all saw how that one went down. And The Drama was good, but again, it had a lot of points where the more I think about it, I'm like, not really. But this one, I do not see myself changing my opinion, and I do not see myself having a bad opinion, because goddamn, is this a near perfect sequel.
This was your Superman.
This is my Superman. Actually, no, my Superman would be Mamma Mia 3. But,
Okay, noted.
this is close enough. It's got Meryl Streep in it as well.
It has Meryl Streep in it.
Exactly.
And anything with Meryl Streep is worth it.
Exactly. And goddamn, does this film deliver as well.
Absolutely, I agree. Before you start with the plot, I do want to open up with I was so uncertain before watching this one, because as you know, I watched the first one, had not watched it the day before to prep myself, and the opinion I had on the film, you thought I was genuinely trying to rage bait you with my opinion.
100%. There was a moment where I was like, am I falling for rage bait, or are these opinions just wildly incorrect?
I just, again, very, very succinctly, I found it very hard to get to the first film because I really did not like a lot of the characters as people. And I just found it very hard to watch for that reason. And I just didn't feel the film gave them any repercussions for their action, which gave me no sense of catharsis throughout the whole film. It felt like nails on a chalkboard kind of watching it. I am happy that you can disagree with that.
I just, every single one of those points I disagree with, which just says enough about how we feel about the first film. But I think we
Fair.
have a very similar opinion about the second one, but I
Yes,
think we're coming at it from different points, from a different perspective from the first one. But we have come
I think
to
so, yeah.
a similar, we've done the horseshoe, I think.
I've fully done a whole circle. I've walked the whole thing. Because I sat through the second one and I was a bit scared, I sent a message on the group chat being wish me luck. And again, first Miranda came in and I was like, yay, amazing to watch Meryl Streep again. But also I was like, this is good. I'm scared. I'm please don't make me go through that whole thing again when just clasping. I was like, no, I hate you. But maybe I needed exposure therapy and the first one was enough for me to settle into this. But there is also so much other things that's going on. The characters are developed and have changed over the 20 years sufficiently that I think that also sufficiently added to how I felt about the story and the characters this time.
Agreed. I just think it's there are very few characters like Miranda Priestley in
Absolutely
popular cinema. And so I think it is exposure therapy at a certain point.
Maybe.
So yeah, I do agree. But I also agree with the fact that the characters feel genuinely well developed. So this movie takes place, it has released 20 years after the first one, and it also takes place 20 years after the first one. So we are in 2026, right? And everything is updated for that. The industry of publishing and magazine publishing and journalism is updated to reflect the kind of dire times we are in currently for those industries. The fashion is kind of updated. The approach to the fashion industry and the kind of direction the fashion industry is taken has been updated. The language has been updated, so, with a little bit of Gen Z slang or whatever in as well. And the characters have developed as well. You can tell that they have aged 20 years, right?
Yeah, but you can't tell that by looking at some of them because goddamn Meryl Streep and Stanley Tucci aged so gracefully. It's insane.
Exactly. You put old Miranda and new Miranda side by side, and you're like, God damn, are they 20 years apart? And same with Stanley Tucci. I think his baldness works for
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Bless that man.
Exactly. This is why I said it's a near perfect sequel, because sequels so rarely acknowledge that time has passed between the first one and this one. And they don't really do anything to update characters in a way that feels significant for the time jump that has happened. So it's like really great to see that the time period has been respected as well in the writing of this film. And it's written by Aline Brosh McKenna, I think fantastically. I do have some issues, but they're like minor details.
Yeah, going again over the plot, you do have Andy coming back as now a features editor to Runway to kind of help get them out of like a crisis of image, basically,
Yes,
that they're
yes.
suffering through, update them, give them a fresh voice. And then she finds herself trying to basically rescue Miranda again to some degree and like caught up in like doing real quote unquote journalism and struggling with what Runway's future will be, if any, right? And that's like kind of the core tensions of the film. And I think what this film does shift to is in the first one, Miranda is the primary antagonist of the film. Maybe secondary after like half an hour into the film where you're introduced to, I cannot remember the name, but the whole plot of like them making someone else the editor instead of Miranda and like the whole shift with that.
Yes.
But Miranda is the primary antagonist for most of the film in the first one. Here, I don't think she is at all an antagonist too much of the film. Her role is reduced to a certain degree as well, I think. And you have people like BJ Novak, people like Irv, who's played by Tibor Feldman, and also Justin Theroux's character, Benji, who are much more the primary antagonists
And
of the
even
film.
Emily, played by Emily Blunt,
Yeah.
as you kind of slowly reveal as like a kind of in an antagonist position rather than an
Yeah.
antagonist herself.
Yeah, and I think that positions Miranda differently as well, because then now you see the lion that was before now much more feeling caged up and like trying to survive rather than like explore its territory as it once was.
Exactly. And that's why I feel like it's a great like picking up point from the first one, because at the end of the first one, you really see how much of a cage Miranda is in, like towards the end of the first film, right? Where she's, scrambling to keep her position. She's betraying her closest, this thing. And you can really see that cost, quote unquote cost that it's taking on her, like very visibly. And that cost that, her life has taken, that it's been on her, is really explored in this film as well, which is why I think it works really well as a continuous sequel as well, rather than something completely disjointed. Like, you need to have watched the first film to understand this one.
You add so much by watching the first one while going into the second one, right? And I think it is that positioning of Miranda that adds so much to the narrative, and it helps the film explore these topics, because I really, really do like the angle of like journalism. The main point of this film is journalism is at stake. And this is a bit of a critique, but also something I like, which is like, I like how the film does posit that this is important, how magazines and how all of these fashion statements, trends are important. You can't reduce them. You can't size them down. You can't like remove the creative power. It needs place to grow, blossom, all of that. It's so well true. And how people in those positions, like suits, I don't have any other words right now, just want to like gut them and like get as much EBITDA out of them as possible, right? But my little discontent with here is like, there's a scene where Andy specifically talking to the new love interest character established, Peter. I think Peter? Yeah. Peter talks about something like, no, I want to do real journalism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I do wish the film, at least it does so in some of its story, but I do feel like some of it does get lost, where like this idea of like, this is journalism. You are doing journalism, and not every form of journalism needs to investigate crimes necessarily. It can do other things.
Exactly. And it doesn't need to be like investigating crimes or, writing exposés or something, like writing like the interview, for example, that they did on Sasha Barnes, who's played by the beautiful Lucy Liu, is like, it's so meaningful. Like when you see them do that interview with her, where she's like, Sasha is like, you haven't once asked me about my ex-husband. And Miranda goes, yeah, because why should your story be defined by him? Yeah. he's certainly not defined by your divorce. That is journalism as well.
Yeah.
Because it acknowledges the fact that women, divorced women, especially older divorced women, exist in their own right. So I think it could have been said more clearly, but I think kind of the point of
Yeah.
these films.
I think it just could be a stronger statement.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Not that it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I think the point of these films, though, is that they're very subtly commenting on a lot of industry. Like the previous one was subtly commenting on the fashion industry. This one is, it's not as subtle as the previous one was, but it still has its moments of like critiquing the journalism and publishing industries. So yeah, I did kind of appreciate that. Talking about fashion, I think the costumes in this film.
Oh my God.
Right? I have no idea
God.
what they were wearing. Someone with a keener eye would be able to like pick up exactly what brands like they were wearing at what point. But like to me, I was just mesmerized. That blue like sparkly dress Andy wears to Irv's 75th birthday.
Yes.
I've never needed a dress, but I need that dress.
Everything everyone's wearing just made me like, I need to throw away all of my closet. I dress like trash. What do I even wear? I genuinely need to go shopping right now. I don't care what my budget is. I need to update my whole wardrobe. This is what this film made me do.
It makes you want to dress better.
Yes.
And that's fully on the costume designer, Molly Rogers, who has done such a fantastic job of, keeping fashion at the forefront of this film as well. Because like this film is nothing without the fashion, right?
Molly Rogers also returning from the first one as well, just to mention.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can see that she's kind of kept each of their personal character styles intact as well. Because Miranda does have that almost camp look with like all of the sequins and the sparkles and the big gemstones. Andy is more subtle and toned down, but still quite structured and tailored as her character has that development. Emily is like fully just pure high fashion. And Nigel has that quiet luxury part of it as well.
So down. Speaking of returning also, like Florian Bellhouse is returning, who was a cinematographer the first one and this one as well. And I don't think this film has like, oh my God, like cinematography that you like latch onto necessarily, but it does have a lot of cinematography that really works in the background to heighten the experience of the suits, the fashion and all of those things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what it does is it really polishes up the cinematography and contemporizes it from the first film with the quick zooms and like the quick cuts and everything that is doing. It feels like an Instagram reel in the best possible way.
Yeah. And I also think it like, while it like updates, like we've been saying, like updates the cinematography and the style, it also keeps like a lot of things from the previous one, like the montages. You rarely see montages in like current films, right?
I think this genre specifically has lost them.
Exactly.
Like you still have them in like your fighting sequences, your training sequences, superhero films or action films. But yes, this comedy rom-com genre has definitely not had
Exactly. So I think keeping the montage is fantastic. I really enjoyed like the zooms and the quick like switches of the shoulder shot as well.
The hidden cuts and everything.
Exactly, yeah. And I also really enjoyed the fact that this film was shot on
location.
On location. It is not green screen. Some of it may have been like set.
Touched up and stuff, yeah.
Exactly. But when you're in Milan, you are in Milan. When you are in New York, you are in New York. When you're in a restaurant in New York, you are in a restaurant in New York, not with a closed set. So it really adds to the realisticness of the film.
Yeah, and you feel it. Everything works with it to give that impression. I agree fully that the location, it makes it feel like, again, to quote Harry Styles, a real movie.
Yeah, 100%. And like the fact that, you're in the last room with the Last Supper for their quote unquote Last Supper.
Oh, that's such a beautifully shot and like produced, like everything, set design, scene.
Exactly.
Amazing.
They made the most of the Last Supper. We didn't just see the Last Supper once. We saw it twice, 3 times, 4 times. We kept seeing it. And it was also narratively important to that moment.
Exactly.
Right? So I just think very, very cleverly done which, I really appreciate as well. And I think in terms of like other things that I enjoyed about the film, I think the acting was brilliant. It wasn't worse.
No. Everyone has just become even better.
Exactly. Even the like new additions like Justin Theroux, like Lucy Liu, like Kenneth Branagh, like Simone Ashley, BJ
Yeah.
Novak, Caleb Heron, etc., Helen Shen, they all add to the film as well. They don't just
Yes.
exist just to exist. Like even the like assistants, the second assistant, the first assistant, etc., like Simone Ashley as Amari is stunning.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, absolutely. She is drop dead gorgeous. Oh my God. Like, yes, I just genuinely everything I say will be just like, like, absolutely beautiful.
Every time
person.
I saw her on screen, I had to take a sip of my soda because my throat got dry because of how stunning she was.
She is, oh my God, yes.
Exactly. And I also think in terms of like updating, making it feel like we are in 2026, the music, which is done by Theodore Shapiro, is really great.
Mhm.
I like the fact that they start with
I think it's a Lady Gaga song that
Yeah.
to start with that also comes back a few
Exactly.
times. They have Runway from Lady Gaga, and I think I'm forgetting which other ones.
So
on
there's
the
a
top
bunch
my
of
head.
there's a bunch of original songs. There's a bunch of like
Yeah.
the music is also like it has the same like tunes and themes. It like keeps those tunes and themes and the harmonies and melodies. Then you have songs by the Marias. You have an Olivia Dean song. So it just kind of blends original and like already existing music quite seamlessly.
Yeah.
And I will say I did enjoy Lady Gaga's cameo. Like,
Oh, absolutely. Who couldn't? Her performance is good. It's also like Shape of a Woman, which is going on throughout the whole sequence. It's a banger. Like, honestly, it's a banger.
yeah.
Nothing
And
else.
of course, Miranda and Lady Gaga would have beef. That's like,
This is
Duh.
so obvious.
I also did enjoy like all the small cameos as well. We had Donatella Versace, you had like Amelia de Moldenberg, you had Heidi Klum, you had John Baptiste, you had Laura Roach, you had Naomi Campbell. So you have like fashion icons as well as like influencer icons, which
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes, my favorite one was Wisdom K, who is a fashion influencer on Instagram. I love that man. God damn it! Like his fits are so incredible. Like he'll just make anything work. And I'm just like, please give me some fashion advice. I really need.
Exactly. So it's even like mindful with the little cameos it does because
Yes.
the Devil Wears Prada as like a brand has gained so much popularity, right? That of course really famous people would want to be in it. Why wouldn't they?
But it also feels like it cares about fashion. Like the film, genuinely, the people behind it care. Because why else would you have these minor cameos sprinkled in from influencers to like actual fashion icons, right?
Exactly.
You care about where fashion is today and you want to celebrate.
And you understand.
That's why they're in that Milan sequence. Yeah.
Exactly. And you understand how these industries work as well. You understand how this world works, which is so important when you're trying to build like a world that is not entirely separate from the real world, but also like is influenced by it, is very much like based off of and like within the real world, for example. And on that note, I will say like a lot of the product placements, I was like, okay, like the Coke product placement, I was like, fine. Yeah. And then it keeps going and it keeps going. But then, when you look back and you think about the fact that the reason why Miranda gave in to Emily at Dior with like their demands, they say, there's no us without them. Talking about whether us being publishing and them being marketers. That applies to the film as well. There's so many product placements because without those brands, without those companies, the film would not have the large scale marketing and the large scale viewership that it does have. So it's so intelligent in terms of that as well.
Also, like, I think very understandable. This is a film where it works with the film point, right? It's a film where like, if you Greek up the products, Greeking meaning like you don't show what they actually are. And like, that's the term for it. Or you just like use different like made up brands. It just feels inauthentic to somebody. You want it to feel like real because of the place it's film taking. And if you have real celebrities coming in, you have like all of these, making fake products just feels jarring towards the film, right? Also, like one thing you mentioning about like Miranda saying like, oh, we have to, there's a consistent theme of this film of like Miranda feeling like she has lost some of that bite, or like she's been declawed a bit, would be maybe the best way. You see in small ways, which I really like, which we mentioned with the updates, where her language has to be toned down, where like
Yeah.
Amari is just like half of Amari's job is like, you cannot say that.
Yeah, or her like putting her coat away. I was genuinely shocked when I saw Miranda.
Yes.
I had the same experience Andy had when I saw Miranda putting her coat away, and I was like, oh my god.
Yes. And my other little criticisms for the film is like, I understand that over 20 years, like Miranda has been like declawed and stuff. It's just, maybe it's me going from literally watching one to the next one next day, each other. But part of it did felt like, I wish I saw that. Like that feels like something kind of jarring once you encounter it. And maybe there's to some degree a point. But I really wish there was a bit more investigation into how that happened. You don't necessarily need to see it, but I do wish a bit more investigation into how it got declawed and how she's felt about that over the years would have been a bit more interesting, because I did want a bit more bite to Miranda. I think some of it has been the age, but I think some of it is also just softening her character in regards to the 20 years that have passed.
Okay, so this is where we're going to disagree a little bit, because
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I don't think it was necessary to see that investigative bit of why she suffered. I think the fact that we are in 2026 is like the film is hyper aware of the fact that we're in 2026, right? So of course she would have to be softened down. I think like the little dialogues where she's like, for example, I'm thinking about the one where she like jokes about like killing herself or like committing suicide or something, and Amari goes, you can't say that, and she's like, what? I'm only talking about killing myself, I'm not talking about killing other people yet. I think that one dialogue fully sums up the fact that she still has her bite. She's just been asked to put it away, right? It's not that she's been declawed per se. It's that she's had to retract her claws. And I think that came across quite well to me, which is why I didn't really feel the need to see like how it had been done or why it had been done. Because to me, it was quite like evident or consistently clear throughout the film. Like it was made clear to me.
Yeah, I think it is a difference of like
perception of the first Miranda.
Yeah. Also, like, it's a difference of what you're coming into the film with, like how you're thinking, versus for me, it's a bit like, I don't think that's, I think you need to convince me that that's happening, versus someone who's like, I already think that's happening, so I'm picking up more subtly and inferring. It's an inference thing. It's like, again, how you're interpreting it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I
fair
think it's
enough.
a perception of how first film Miranda you took, and now how you're taking this one or how you're perceiving this one.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the times I'm like very hesitant to keep talking about like the first film or like an original, quote unquote original, when you're talking about a second one. I think this film demands that you talk about the first one as well when you're talking about the second one, because of how linked they are, which is fantastic. Because they are together. They do have something to do with each other. And you know, the little like references to the first film that they make with like having Miranda say her like iconic lines, soul, and Andy having a little bit of that nervousness and hesitation still around Miranda. I did have a few criticisms about the kind of relationship they have with each other.
Yes, I also think that's like to a certain degree, like part of me was like, you're acting like you have never encountered this before to a certain degree, which I feel like is not as well done. And I would like a bit more on the dynamic, because like the dynamic has changed, and it is like, I think there's a lot of parts where I'm like, it's acknowledged. I just wish it had gone down further. There's a shift in dynamic between Miranda and Andy. The power dynamic is different, and I wish there was a bit.
Exactly. And I also wish that the dynamic was different, or like the kind of conflict between them wasn't just that, you know, Andy is stepping above and beyond what she's required to do, and that's causing friction with Miranda or something like that. I think there could have been different ways to kind of get that friction in dynamic across. But that's like a small gripe I have with the writing.
Yeah, I think despite its flaws, it works. There are flaws, I 100% agree. Even with the pacing to certain degrees, I think it's not as tight as the first film is basically what I want to say. Also, like with Andy, another thing was I think the book plot is not, it feels like an addition rather than something that really adds that much. Same thing with the relation. Yeah, I think same thing with the relationship with Peter, where it adds, like, it's a character emphasis. It tells you something about her character, which is like her growth and her settling into certain things, her like finally settling down and like going on a specific trajectory. And I 100% love her chemistry. I think the chemistry there is really, really well done.
For
like,
sure, yeah.
both of them feel like a couple that enjoy each other's company. And it also feels like a mature relationship. It doesn't feel like
The first one.
yeah, exactly. The way like Peter goes like, I still want to see you after this. I know we just had a fight. I'm not going to treat you like a child. And,
That's how adults behave.
this is how adults behave. And I really enjoyed that. But I also think it's not done enough for me to feel like a strong enough connection to it. Is basically what I'm
Exactly,
saying.
yeah. It's like, again, in 2 hours, there's only so much you can fit. And like,
Yeah.
the subplot are important, but it's like at some point you've got to be like, okay, you could have removed the book thing and made the relationship longer, or you could have removed the relationship and made the book thing longer. Like,
Yeah.
I do see that like too many subplots becomes a bit like, okay, but what was kind of the point of these?
And again, I'm coming at it from, again, not a fan who's watched the first one so long ago and like has had to sit with it. But I do think, you tell me, but I do feel like it gives a lot of these characters who's been in people's minds for so long, each of them their moments.
100%. I think especially that comes across when Miranda and Nigel have like a reconciliation.
Yes.
And Nigel and Andy have their little forever my girl moment at the end. I was genuinely crying.
So cute.
I was genuinely crying at both those moments because it feels like these characters have grown up and these characters have kind of been given their dues well. They're not just like, rehashed in some form of nostalgia core, but they've also, been taken beyond the nostalgia of it all.
Yeah, exactly. As much as like I am a bit like every film we get now is a sequel or remake or like some sort of continuation of a already existing thing. It's not bad when at least it's a original like idea and it does do something more with them and you feel like you got more out of it.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see this Oscar nominated or getting multiple nominations for set production and costume design.
It should. So yeah, those are our thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. This podcast is produced solely by us with musical assets from Pixabay. If you enjoyed this, please do share it. See you again next time.
Bye.